Hey everybody, Peptide Buddy here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and actually reacting to Joe Rogan talking about his favorite peptides on the Flagrant podcast, hosted by comedians Andrew Schultz and Akash Singh. I've been looking forward to making this video. I hope you like it. Let's just get into it.
Everything.
That was sexual.
Most of it is like the big results come from testosterone replacement, and then there's peptides that increase your body's ability to grow hormones like growth hormone and
What
IGF-1.
peptides?
Yeah, there's BBC 157, Ipamorelin.
You've Googled BBC.
I'm fucking these names up, and then another one's called thymosin. And what these things do is they help your body produce the hormones that it should have when you're younger and your body works better. And if you do that and you regularly exercise, if there's ever one thing that someone can do to stop aging, it's lift weights and don't stop.
So I love you, Joe, but I'm going to have to stop you right there. Let's get into the peptides in question. First, BPC 157. Our favorite body protection compound very strongly involved in healing. Then there's Ipamorelin, the growth hormone secretagogue and ghrelin receptor agonist, who's really prominent in the pathway involving growth and recovery. And finally, thymosin. Joe says thymosin. It's very vague since there are different thymosins, but essentially these are all a category of peptides derived from the thymus, which in turn have shown to have functions and be found in many different types of tissues. So here in this case, we're going to say that Joe is discussing thymosin A1, which he's talked about in other podcasts, so I imagine this is the truth. Though different thymosins that are popular do exist, as you can recall from a recent video, thymosin beta 4 or TB500. So, are they legit, or is Joe full of, well, I'm going to let you fill in the blanks here. Disclaimer, I don't know whether Joe's taking all these peptides. I've definitely heard him mention BPC 157 and thymosin before individually, but as far as Ipamorelin goes, I really don't know, because he is on HGH, so I don't know if he really finds benefits in experimenting with Ipamorelin instead. So a quick review of BPC 157 and Ipamorelin, some of my favorites, and if you had to ask me which peptide that excites me the most for the future of peptide research and seeing where it goes and ends up, I'd say it's probably BPC 157. Honestly, there's so much promise in terms of its healing properties, just generally speaking, from wound healing to resupplying blood to, its involvement in different tissues. It's a compound with multiple body protective functions synthesized from gastric acid. Ipamorelin, another cool one, GH secretagogue that also agonizes the ghrelin receptor. I'm tempted to recommend CJC Ipamorelin over Ipamorelin alone just because of the favorable environment created for secretion of GHRH and there, along the whole growth hormone pathway. But also, I'd be tempted to consider another GHRH or GH analog if that's what you're looking for, just because Ipamorelin's role in achieving lean body mass, even though it kind of makes sense physiologically, hasn't been all yet proven through research. So thymosins. As I mentioned, these are a series of peptides that are initially isolated or were initially isolated from the thymus, but since have been found in all these different types of tissues throughout the body. Recent video on thymosin beta 4, TB500, another cool one. You see where I'm going? These are some cool peptides. Joe's talking about thymosin alpha 1. I know I've seen him mention it in a couple podcasts, mostly in relation to this virus that's taken over the world. And this is because it is an immunomodulator, so it induces immune response through T cells. Our T lymphocytes, our infection fighters, and it's improved in some countries for use in hepatitis B and C, some of these more underserved countries. It's actually approved, which is, pretty cool news and really highlights the prominence of its research. So it's been evaluated in context of other chronic disease states like TB, tuberculosis, acute respiratory disorders, viral disorders like HIV and Hep B and C, and other notable popular viruses that have occupied our lives in popular cultures for like the past few years, and cancers. And on top of that, toxicity from chemotherapy. Not to mention it's an antioxidant that protects against oxidative damage and free radical damage. Like, thymosins are cool. And thymosin alpha 1 is really cool as well. And, there will definitely be a future deep dive on it. So this is from, a really cool research piece that just shows all the different involvements of thymosin alpha 1 and kind of, its more specific biochemical roles, like increases T cell maturation into CD4, CD8 cells, decreases viral replication, decreases these pro-inflammatory cytokines, like a lot of really cool stuff. And I'm looking forward to doing a deeper dive so that we can put out a whole video on this topic all along. So BPC 157, big fan, lots of promise, pending research, nothing new on that end. Ipamorelin, as I mentioned, not the biggest fan due to the lack of clarity in research, certainly worse options, don't get me wrong. But in regards to Joe's comments about replacing hormones you had when you're young that you pretty much relinquish when you age, I think CJC, IPA is probably a better combination than Ipamorelin alone. But I'm down to debate it, down to hear your side of things as well. Thymosin A1, strictly in terms of its immunomodulatory peptides, I'm very impressed by its clinical utilization and multifactorial use profile. It's uncommon that I start research on these peptides and some of the first things that come up are what it's indicated for. I usually have to dive through and sift through plenty of research on rodents and humans alike and try to figure out what the heck it serves promise as. And these are some cool peptides. I don't really disagree with Joe. I think these are a good start. Like, if you're beginning your research on peptides and you want to learn what's promise peptides show and how vast they are, these are a good few to start at. So, channel news, taking video requests as always. Leave a comment. More future videos on thymosins, A1 in particular. You know it. Please like and subscribe. It's the only way to support the channel, and I love going back and forth with all of you guys and kind of being part of this peptide community. So, thanks. Have a great one.